All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time now to look at the pages of the papers talking about newspaper headlines, and we'll begin with the Nation newspaper. The major story here: Niger coup leaders rallies Burkina Faso, Mali against Ecowas, formalize alliance in new decree. Junta expels Nigerian, French, German ambassadors. Ecowas to Junta, it's not too late to reconsider your actions. And another story here: Bushi, my one-year ordeal in prison custody. Bushi, my one-year ordeal in prison custody. He's sharing his story for Nigerians to understand. And then you see the picture here: Army buries 22 officers killed in Niger attack. This ceremony happened yesterday in Abuja. It was a really emotional one. Now, how military should deal with calls for coup by ex-Bayelsa Millard. You find details of the story on page 12. Why I wept during my son's inauguration as governor. Oyebanji is speaking. Pandev hails Tinubu over restoration of Niger Delta Ministry. Collapsed Abuja building. Miscreants turn heroes in rescue operation. How will fight corruption in judiciary? President Tinubu is speaking. Who has what story?
Okay, I would begin with the headline that says, collapsed Abuja building, miscreants turn heroes in rescue operation as street boys save 28 lives. Wow. So we can recall that there was a building collapse in Abuja on Wednesday, and many people around that area are not happy that the boys that did a lot of rescue operations are not getting a lot of credits for their efforts. They said they used their hands, torch, dagger, to actually go into the rubbles and bring people out. And they were working hand in hand with the Federal Road Safety Corps officials. So the guy is saying, that's one of the men called, let me get their names now. Nasser, so there are three of them. One that is a Megad, Nasser Matsi, there's Yahaya Bilyamin, and there's Ashiru Masaka. And they said they had to do what they had to do because they saw that, they had to step in. Help, yeah. Exactly. And then they said that they would like to be helped. And if they can be reached on 0703195108, if anybody feels led to help them and compensate them for the work that they did.
And to encourage them, that's what it is, because the government, the emergency management agencies obviously could not have done that alone. These guys had to come in to help. And if you see the rubble, you knew that someone had to go in, because at some point they were waiting for excavators to come into the rubble at the time it happened. So it was till the following morning when the excavators came in. And so these guys were the ones trying to rescue people. 2 persons died in that incident. About 35 persons were rescued. And government has said that they will take care of the hospital bills of those that were rescued.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day. But I hope that people reach out to them now that you have mentioned.
Their name and the
I
number
hope,
is
yes.
in the papers.
Yeah. I hope I can.
If you didn't get the number from her, please go and buy the Nation newspaper.
You find the number there
by yourself. I want to take the story of how the president wants to reform the judiciary. Yeah. So the president received the NBA president. The Nigerian president received the president of the NBA, Yakubu Maikel, in Abuja yesterday, Thursday. No, so in Abuja on Thursday. Yesterday is not Thursday.
Yesterday was Friday.
The NBA is having their 63rd conference. I don't know, the word is not conference. Yeah, annual general conference yesterday. And they invited the president to join. So they had the meeting with him on Thursday to join them for the conference on Friday. And the president said that he understands the challenge with the judiciary. First, it is important to increase the remuneration for judges. He said that, and they understand that it's essential, it should be done quickly to fight corruption in the judiciary. also said they were going to look at the costs and consequences, and that he had gotten a lot of information concerning this. He also, you know, in a very joking manner, said that he's surrounded by lawyers. His chief of staff, Femi Amila, is a lawyer. He said the state chief of protocol, Victor Adeleke, is a lawyer. His principal private secretary, Prince Damilotu Adeyemi, is a lawyer. So he is surrounded by a lot of lawyers. He understands the challenges the NBA is facing, and he knows that he pledges a comprehensive criminal justice reform in Nigeria. And I'm sure all the lawyers, as well as judges, are looking forward to the reforms taking place speedily.
Okay, so I have this story talking about Army buries 22 officers killed in Niger attack. We recall that some weeks ago, some military personnel were in Niger State to carry out rescue operations and also attacks. About 36 of them were killed by terrorists. And in the process, the military has buried them. Yesterday, they buried 22 of these officers at the cemetery in Abuja. And if you saw the ceremony, it was quite a sad and sober one, because their families were present to pay their last respect. The defense minister for state was also there, Bello Matawali. And the army is saying that they would ensure that they revenge this death or avenge this death. And my concern is how this will impact the morale of their colleagues who saw that these guys were in the line of duty, paid the ultimate price. Of course, they have that at the back of their minds, that as you commit to be patriotic in delivering your services to the country, anything can happen. But then how we move forward from here.
It's what we do to the family.
Yeah. It's very
how
critical.
we honor them.
Yeah.
So our heart goes out to the family of all those 23 soldiers that died, and we do pray that well-meaning Nigerians also support them, apart from waiting for the military itself. Okay, so before we come to you, we need to quickly go on a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue looking through the newspaper headlines. Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking through the newspaper headlines. We're still on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And Toby, you have a story on this.
Yes, the real reason I was remanded in prison for 1 year, former Senator Nwoboshi said. And he said that, excuse me, he said that he was taken to court on account of diversion of funds. But the Supreme Court, after 1 year back and forth in the court, said that there was nothing called diversion of funds, so he wasn't supposed to have been arrested in the first place. However, the Court of Appeal the people that took him to court took the matter again to the Court of Appeal to ensure that, you know, he was going to get some form of justice. And he went on to say that I didn't sign a check. I didn't sign an agreement. I'm not a director. I'm not a shareholder of the company. You said I'm the alter ego. So these were things that they said. They said he diverted some funds, but he said that even the staff of the company that were there and were the signatories to the accounts were not reprimanded. And he went on to also say that the reason why he was remanded for 1 year was because they didn't want him to participate in the last elections that took place. And then he went ahead also to now express the fact that a lot of people are also currently in prison in Nigeria for reasons that they can't even pinpoint with their fingers. They don't even have enough money to go through with a lawyer. And the article just basically expresses his grief towards the matter, his bitterness now that he's out, but he feels that he shouldn't have even gone there in the first place.
According to him, is the work of his political detractors. So they didn't want him to participate in the last election, basically. Well, justice, we still have a long road to justice at the end of the day. Anyway, let's move now to Saturday Punch. The major story here, governors disobey federal government on local government autonomy, cripple council operations, and some riders. Most secretariats dilapidated, health centers, others rot away. NULGE expresses frustration as states impose administrators on local governments. I felt like dying after losing wife, 4 kids in gas explosion. An Oyo man speaking there, a really sad one. And how fading apprenticeship technical skills worsen poverty, job loss to foreigners. A poor upbringing made me hungry for love. Esther Nwachukwu speaking. Abducted pastor mistaken as kidnapper killed in Ogun Forest. Chief of Defense Staff vows crackdown on bandits. There's 20 slain soldiers buried. Talking about the story we mentioned yesterday. They were buried yesterday. These are the stories on the front page. Who has what story in the pages of the Punch?
I have the poor upbringing made me hungry for love. So this actress, Esther Nwachukwu, she's a popular, controversial actress on the streets of social media. And she had acknowledged that the way she was brought up is a reason why she's she's very, very controversial. And two, why she's hungry for love. So she does some things on social media that people kind of like question, but she's saying that, please don't blame me. It's just the way I was brought up. I didn't have a family that had so much love. I grew up in bitterness. So the way I'm acting right now is because of the way I was brought up.
There are plenty of people who have such stories and do not act the way she is acting. So if she needs help, she obviously knows she needs help. So she should seek help.
And not use
that as an excuse for bad behavior. And that's, unfortunately.
I picked up that story because, you know, like you said, a lot of people try to create excuses for what their parents did or didn't do or the environment they grew up in. But turning this around is just a wake-up call for us to say that you can choose the narrative of your life as you go.
Write your own story the way you want it.
The way you want to, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees have accused state governors of diverting their funds, which is contrary to the law. If we remember, the president had signed in this called Executive Order 10 in 2020, that is providing that the local government had financial autonomy, and as well as the judiciary and local governments, legislators, all of that should have financial autonomy, but it's not been implemented. So the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees have accused the state of crippling the third tier of government, knowing how important this is. He said out of the 36 states we have in Nigeria, only 34 have complied with the instruction to give local governments autonomy financially, that they keep diverting the funds under the other part of the law. There's a part of the subsection of the law that allows subsection 6 and 7 and 8. It allows the states to maintain a special joint account local government system where the states pays in the money, but they have control over it. They said many states, local governments in Nigeria are in, like the local government office is in a state of disrepair. They cannot fix their facilities. They can barely pay their staff. They can't provide any form of close to they're supposed to provide close service to the locals, and they don't have the funds to do it because they are not getting the money that should come to them. They mentioned how many of the hospitals and primary schools which fall under local government are in state of disrepair. Only 2 states are compliant in Nigeria fully with the law as regards local government, and the states are Jigawa State
because I wanted to know
states.
The states.
Just no.
Lagos is not compliant.
Because Lagos had to create more states, so they use that as a way to say to keep the funds in that joint account and distribute into the other local governments anyway.
Yes, sir.
Yes, there's a sad story in the Punch. It breaks my heart. It says abducted pastor was mistaken as a kidnapper, and he was killed in Ogun Forest. So the family of Pastor Adeniyi Adesa, a chartered accountant, has demanded for justice over the murder of their son. So let me just summarize the story. Pastor Adeniyi was kidnapped on his way back from work, and his family had been trying to raise the ransom, to get his freedom. But then there were issues along the way, and they could not, take the bag to the rendezvous, the place that they expected them. Exactly, they expected them to bring the bag to. But then the kidnappers also had a plan to attack another church. So when they were going to the church, they brought their Pastor Adeniyi, that's the first victim. They took him to the operation, left him in the bush, and went ahead to attack the Redeemed Church at Owode Egba. But while they were attacking, the church called on the policemen and the so safe corps, and then there was an exchange of gunfire, bullets, and some of the kidnappers escaped. And while they were combing the bush, they saw Pastor Denny right there in the forest.
And they thought he was
And they thought he was one of them because of course, it was frail, and maybe the kidnappers had, tried to make him no, maybe not look like them. They had dismembered him. Like he was also, I think he also had the bullet wound on his leg. So they thought that he was one of the kidnappers that was trying to escape. So they killed him right there. There was a video that showed some of the youth members attacking him with knives and planks. Even his dead body was dragged through the forest because they did not, they did not regard him at all. So the family, they are calling for justice, and they said that they have written a petition to the Commissioner of Police, and then they said everybody in that video will be charged with murder, and yeah, they'll continue to investigate to see.
I don't know, what came to mind is that lady that was also attacked in the north, and we saw the video of persons who attacked her, who killed her. Up till today, we haven't gotten justice, and so I don't know how this would be different from that case.
Well, this one there's a video evidence. So
there was a video evidence.
There
was a video evidence for that one as well. We need to have justice because a lot of people need closure. Of course. So let me quickly take this story on Ecowas. So the president of Ecowas, talking about Umar Touré, now not the chairman of Ecowas. The chairman of Ecowas is President Bola Tinubu. So the president of Ecowas has said that nothing must happen to Bazoum, who was the ousted president of Niger. And we recall that just yesterday, the coupists in Niger were told the French envoy, they even told Nigerian envoy that they are giving them 48 hours to leave the country because they had called for a meeting in the ministry and these persons did not honor their invitation. And the president of Ecowas is saying, you know what, the conversation we are having is having a dialogue. War is the last resort. We are not planning to have any issues because the coupists have opened their borders to Mali to bring in their mercenaries so that if there is any attack on them, these people can show support for them. And so as it is right now, the president, the ECOWAS chair, some days ago has spoke with the ulamas, Muslim ulamas, and told them they should go back and have a conversation with these persons to continue dialogue. As it is, war is not the option. What they want is a dialogue. But the coupists in Niger are trying to put up a hard stance towards the conversation.
Getting support.
Anyway, let's see what happens in the coming days. To the Saturday Sun now. The major story, renewed supremacy battles rages on in APC as Tinubu's men move to wrest power from governors. President's allies, Governor Bello at loggerheads in Kogi, Oshomole Floors Ayade in South-South, we are resolving issues, party spokesman is saying. Port Harcourt Refinery to begin operations in December, federal government. Interesting. 4.1% unemployment rate report laughable, says Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, others. House of Babalawo, Lagos building where Ifa priests are born, raised, and tutored. Interesting. Ohaneze offers to sign surety for Kanu. Nothing will gladden Indigo's hearts than IPOB leaders' freedom. Group youth salute reps call for his release. How Cold War in Lagos APC caused rejection of Sanwo-Olu's cabinet nominees. Stakeholders are saying this. Governor never ignored party. Matter is being handled, says spokesman. ECOWAS not at war with Nigerians, Touré speaking. Tough tasks before Tinubu's ministers. Experts in economy, ICT, oil and gas, law, solid minerals, state challenges offer solutions. While we are not impressed by Badaru Matawale's choices as defense ministers, Iowa Consultative Forum and another forum speaking there. Who has what story?
I was so curious about the Lagos State one, but it was just too political for me to handle. The good news seemed like the fact that the Port Harcourt Refinery is going to be up by December 2023, according to the Minister for State Oil. Minister for State Petroleum Resources Oil, Senator Heineken Lokbobiri, who was followed for the inspection with the other Minister for State for Gas, Honorable Ekpo, and the Permanent Secretary for Petroleum Resources, and Ambassador Gabriel T. Aduda, and the Group CEO for NNPC, PCL. All these people were there. You know, we've been waiting for this refinery to be up, and we're happy that whatever turnaround maintenance is going on. We're going to hold the Minister of State to his word.
Now you are talking.
We're going to hold him to his word. They've promised us plenty things. This is December 2023. You and I, we're going to be alive in December 2023.
Amen.
And we're going to hold you to your word that the Dangote,
You see, you mentioned something. You just mentioned something that I also...
Yes, he mentioned it too, that
Yeah.
Dangote Refinery too is expected to start working, but...
Start working when? Because that had been the controversy. There's been controversy surrounding that one. From a particular date to June to July to now we are hearing 2025.
They did not give us date for the Dangote one, but they said Dangote one too will start working.
It was supposed to have come upstream for some time now, but we kept stalling, and I hope that this is not what it's going to be with the Port Harcourt Refinery. But like he has mentioned, we'll hold them to account. I believe Nigerians are listening. We'll put them on their toes. If it does not come up in December, then we'll begin to talk. Toby?
Yes, the 4.1% unemployment rate reports laughable, says MAN and others. So the National Bureau of Statistics has said that there is a decline in the unemployment rate from 33% in 2018 to 4.1% in 2023. And the organized private sector of Nigeria is saying that this is so laughable, that we see everything that is happening currently in Nigeria, and we're saying that the unemployment rate is just 4.1%. A rep from the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said it doesn't make sense at all. It's unbelievable, to say the least. You don't need to be a statistician to know that the figures don't belong to Nigeria. We see throngs of unemployed people roaming the streets. We see people hanging around factory gates looking for any available jobs. We see graduates searching for even menial jobs just to get by. How can you say the unemployment rate is 4.1%? And so this has been a conversation that has been ongoing, saying that the 4.1% that the National Bureau of Statistics had put in place is absolutely unbelievable and laughable.
Because that's what some persons have been talking about. How did we arrive there? How did we see the decline and all of those?
Inflation is just kineko percent. When you look at how much we're buying rice, now, that's over 100%. You say inflation is. So they have their numbers.
They have the way they get their numbers, but it's fine.
I think they should use measures that people can relate to, to actually quantify.
Okay, we'll have to leave it here now.